Hello, I'm Pip, and welcome to the Midwife Pip podcast, the home of expert information and real chats on all things pregnancy, birth, and beyond. As expectant mums, we need solidarity, real talk, and taboo busting. This episode is all about being real, honest, and sharing experiences to support other mums on this incredible rollercoaster of a journey too. This week's guest, Charlie Launder, founder of Bumps and Burpees, is joining me to talk about our current pregnancies, the ups and downs, highs and lows, challenges, and how we are finding our own experiences of pregnancy. So welcome, Charlie, and thank you for letting me steal you for another chat, because you've been on the podcast before talking about your area of expertise of exercise. This is just about you.
I know, and what better thing to talk about than me? It's easy to talk about me, but I can't even remember, was I pregnant with my first or my second the last time I came on? I think it's my second.
I think you were pregnant with your second.
Okay, it all blurs into one at the end.
Yeah, and let's be honest, the timescale wasn't massive between them, so
It was not. The timescale has not been massive across all of them, so we can get into that.
I feel like you're a great advert for like pregnancy, birth, motherhood. Must be okay because Charlie's just going back. Like she's not hanging around.
Yeah.
So I mean, I could just talk to you. I've got my cup of tea. Like I feel like we're just in a coffee shop here, which is lovely. But I did put some questions out to Instagram to see what people might want us to actually talk about, rather than just being entirely selfish and having a conversation that happens to be recorded. So one of the top questions that came out, Charlie, which I feel like you have lots of experience in now that you're on pregnancy number 3, is how do you manage to continue to have an active lifestyle with young children?
Well, that is a very good question. And I'd say that changing your mindset is quite helpful, because when you have young children, your life is really active. So if you're wanting an active lifestyle, you've got it. Having young children, you're not really sitting down that much. You're not, with a baby you might be, but when they move, no, you're not resting anymore. So in terms of just daily life, it is very active. I'm following them around. I'm running around after them in the playground. I'm up and down the stairs all day. But in terms of actually adding in exercise, workouts, planned exercise, should I say, I have found that at the beginning, you have to grab time where you get time. And it changes week on week, month, maybe not week on week, but as they progress into like a routine and a different routine, that's when it changes. So maybe at the beginning, when they sleep, because they sleep a lot more, at the start, then you can exercise then suddenly they don't sleep a lot more and you can't predict it. Then I'd say, don't wait for them to be asleep. Just wait for them to be happy. Make sure they're fed, make sure they've got lots of things around them that they can look at or play with, and then just get on and do the workout with them there. Never think it's not a full workout if you haven't done an hour. I mean, I cannot remember the last time I did a workout that was an hour. You just don't need to. And it might be that you put your workout stuff on in the morning, which is my top tip, and you think, right, this is the workout I'm going to do when I can, so that you've made all the decisions already. You're not spending ages going, should I do lower body? Should I do this? You've already decided, you've got your workout stuff on, and when that moment arises, you just go. No matter what the living room looks like, doesn't matter if it's messy, you just go and use your time. So I think that's the main thing, is that it doesn't have to be picture perfect with your baby napping beautifully and it's silent and you can have that time to yourself. Unfortunately, especially in the first year, I think me time isn't actually always on your own. Sometimes you've got to do it with your little person there. And then when they start to get a bit bigger, maybe you have a bit of childcare, maybe they can go into the creche at the gym, maybe your neighbour can have the baby for an hour or something. Then you could maybe start to factor into your week being like, every single Monday morning I do this. And, you start to get more used to building in those habits. But it takes time. And with both of my boys, it was around the year mark that I was like, okay, every Monday and every Wednesday, or whatever it was, that's when I can guarantee I can do the workout unless a baby's ill or whatever. But I think for the first year, you just have to grab it when you can, is my main advice.
Yeah, and I think that's the perfect advice, because if you like, especially with your first child, if you've been able to, like you say, finish a day in the office and then go to the gym and do your hour, and it's all quite like leisurely, it's just so different. And if that's all you've ever pictured as your exercise, then to think about doing like 10 minutes in your living room in your pajamas doesn't feel like exercise anymore. But actually, it's rethinking about why you're exercising, and your why when you're a mum is often really different to how it was prior to that. So it's marrying those two things up, because life is never going to be perfect. Like all
No.
those squares aren't going to be beautifully aligned. So it's finding that way. And I love the tip about know what you're doing and be ready in terms of what you're wearing, because if you've got 15 minutes, then by the time you've got changed, you've had the tea, you've planned what you're doing, you've rolled a
So
mat
fair.
out, you've got 2 minutes left, haven't you? It just doesn't work.
Totally, totally. And I want to just pick up on you saying your why.
Mm.
I think a lot of the messages we get on social media is you want to work out to be strong for your kids and to be there for your kids, and that is 100% true. But it's also okay to want to work out to feel fitter like you used to, feel stronger like you used to, or maybe fit into some of your clothes that are sat in your cupboard and you can't fit them anymore. It's okay to have those goals too. You just might have to be a bit more patient because they might take a bit longer to get there because you have less, dedicated time each week. So I think it's okay to admit, to tell people that your goal is to, it's not just for your children, it can be for you too. And I think that's really important to acknowledge that it will happen. You will get those goals. You just, at the first stage of motherhood, you might just need to take a bit more time to get there.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, showing our children that we value ourselves, our physical health, and our
Yeah.
mental health is an amazing thing to teach them. Like, we want them to grow up in a world where they can be like, I'm doing this because I'm prioritizing me and my health and my happiness. And
Yeah.
ultimately, that starts with us, because we are their ultimate role models, aren't we? They do everything and say everything, because I'm learning that we do. But
Well, my
halfway.
son is 3.5, my eldest, and he yesterday he got onto the floor and he said, "I need to just do some press ups," and he was doing like
Oh,
1, 2, 3, and he wasn't really doing a press up, but I was like,
we
how
love that.
cool that he's like picked up on that, and he was saying, I said, "Why do you need to do the press ups?" Because I want to feel strong, and I was like, oh, this is just music to
Yes.
my ears. Yeah,
Yeah, come on, Alfie. That's brilliant. We've got a ski erg in our gym, and for people that don't know what that is, it's a bit like a ski machine. You hold on to little like handles and pull it down. And my little boy will spend ages on that. He thinks that's brilliant. But isn't that the
great.
value of us having not crammed exercise into nap time? When nap time can be time for you to either put your feet up and rest, sleep, just chill out, have a hot cup of tea. It doesn't need to be the time that you exert yourself even more. It's brilliant for your child to watch you move your body, because it normalizes active lifestyles, which is what we want for our children.
Yeah.
We're in a epidemic of sedentary lifestyles for lots of families, and actually instilling that at a young age and getting kids moving, whether that's dancing in the kitchen or doing whatever, is such a powerful way of just setting their mindset up for an active life long term.
Totally. I don't know about you, but my boys, they go mental if they're sat still for too long. If they're
Yeah.
all starting to fight and things like that, I'm like, right, let's do some running races. Let's play this game, and we're running around the kitchen. Then they're fine again. It's like they are like us. We need to move for our mental health. They're exactly the same.
Yeah, they are. It's that it's a primal need, isn't it? That we've kind
Yeah.
of, I guess, over generations, we've been able to kind of suppress, but actually, when we strip it back, it is a fundamental need of ourselves still. Um, but yeah, it just all becomes a bit different. I vividly remember in the really early stages thinking, I really want to be able to exercise for half an hour a day, like 4 or 5 times a week. And so to start with, I would break that up into 3 10-minute slots throughout the day. So I would just do like a little 10 minute here, a little 10 minute there. And then I'd be like, I've worked out for half an hour today, in my little 10 minute way. And sometimes the first one was in my pajamas, maybe at the beginning of the day, and maybe even my pajamas at the end of the day. But it's just finding out what you can do and meeting yourself there.
But
And
do you
staying
know
away
what?
from distraction.
Before I'd had kids, when someone would say to me, I can't find half an hour in the day, I would be like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Of course you can find half an hour in the day. But some days you just can't because of various reasons. You know, there's things to do. Your baby's not happy maybe that day, they're teething or something. They can't be put down. Sometimes you just can't. And I think on the days or the weeks where you just can't, you have to, unfortunately, accept it and be like, it's nothing to do with my motivation or my dedication or whatever. It's just the way it is. And so when you have got that good day or that good week, just do it. Just make the most of it, because you never know when the next bug is coming home from nursery or whatever it is.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
But 10-minute slots is a very good way to start. I like that.
Just making it work, isn't it? And I swear, Charlie, I would take my top off and my tiny baby son would just smell milk. So that would be it. He's like, now I need to feed. And I'm like, brilliant, I've done 2 squats. Fantastic.
Yeah.
So 10 minutes was like, I can buy 10 minutes of time. And again, then it takes out that need for, I hate the idea that in nap time, we've got to get everything done, because their mums get no other time in the day for that headspace, because nap time is doing the dishes, preparing dinner, cleaning the house, if that's a thing that we do anymore. I certainly exercising. Like, it's this crammed, stressful time, and then our nervous system is just constantly 100 miles an hour. And actually, it's really nice if nap time can be this free time, so that when you wake up that day, you can do whatever you might feel like in nap time, rather than having this like boom, 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 got to do all of this stuff in potentially half an hour, potentially 2 hours. Who even knows?
Yeah, exactly.
It is it's such a wild one. Now, I think, and I don't know if you noticed a change in this from your first and your second from having them, but I think in my first, I was so conscious to give absolutely every part of me to my son that I kind of lost myself, and I didn't prioritize my needs as much as I should, or as much as I would tell all the women, you know, that I work with or friends to prioritize. And one of the things that I'm going to make sure I do differently this time is to not feel that guilt for being like, actually, I'm going to have this 20 minutes for me to do something that's going to make me feel good, which I think last time I really did. If I wasn't constantly doing stuff for my son, then I just felt like that wasn't being a good mum. And it's a motive, isn't it? That motherhood thing. And you have this rational brain, and then you have this like newly postnatal hormone motherhood brain.
Yeah,
and
no,
I found the
totally.
two were hard to marry.
This podcast is sponsored by Pregnacare from Vita Biotics. We all know how important it is to support our health when trying for a baby, during pregnancy, and in the postpartum. Pregnacare vitamin and mineral supplements provide advanced nutritional support for every stage of pregnancy, before, during, and after. They include vitamin D and the exact levels of folic acid as recommended by the UK Department of Health. Pregnacare, expert nutritional care for pregnancy, with you every step of the way. To find out more, visit www.pregnacare.com.
I definitely felt like in the first, I've never been a huge one for mum guilt, but I did definitely have to justify myself a lot. And even if he was with my husband, I would, you know, I'm coming back, don't worry, I'm going to be back in a minute. And it's like, he's with his dad, don't panic. But I definitely felt that. With the second, it was so much less, so much less. But you also have less time or brain space because you've got 2 of them, right? So when you're not with your baby, you think, I should be with my toddler, or you want to be with your toddler. So it means you have to be much more strong with yourself to be like, I matter too. And I actually, this time round, I'm already thinking of things I can put into place for the newborn phase so that I can enjoy it, and so that I don't feel completely burnt out, because there's going to be 3 of them. So I need to make sure I've got a plan, because in the first one, no one knows what's going to happen, do you? And you just think, oh, there's only one baby, it should be totally fine. And it's really all consuming. Yeah. And it is all consuming second time too, but you trust your instincts a lot more. You know, I was like, he's fed, he's absolutely fine. I'm going to get on and do my thing because he doesn't need me right now. And my oldest is in nursery, whatever it is. And I felt like I was a lot more sure of myself second time round. It didn't mean that there was less mum guilt. I didn't acknowledge it as much. I was just like, yeah, but I need to do this, so I'm going for it.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. And I guess because you, with your second, you had your first needs to worry about as well. So you kind of focus solely on this one human because you were navigating this whole system.
Oh my God, the second it's so funny. And I've spoken
Don't put
to
me off
loads
now
of-
because it's too late to change my mind.
No, it's a great thing. He is so happy in his own company. He's now 20 months. He's so happy to play by himself. He self-settled to sleep really early on because he had to. I'd put him in his crib and be like, 1 second, I'm just going to put Alfie to bed and I'll be back in a minute. And when I came back, he was asleep. And he is much more patient and chilled than my first because he had to be, because there was two of them and I couldn't give all my attention to him. So I think it's a good thing because it means that, they learn that, mum will come in a minute, but not right now. She's doing something. And I wonder what the third will think. Will she ever come see me? Or is this just it? Yeah, exactly. But honestly, I think I've spoken to a lot of other parents with two, and the second has some sort of similarities in their sort of personality. He's crazy, don't get me wrong. He's got zero fear and he has a very high pain threshold. So he launches himself off things, but he doesn't make a fuss about stuff. Like my eldest will bang his shoulder on the door slightly as he walks past it, and I will know about it. My youngest, I picked him up from nursery. He had this giant egg on his head underneath his hat that they hadn't seen because he didn't cry when obviously he banged his head on something. And I think they're just a bit more resilient, the second one. So yeah, don't panic. It's not like having two firstborns. It's very different.
Thanks. I'm going to take note of that for sure. And I think actually things like resilience, patience, sharing are all essential life skills that, we have to learn, don't we? So I love the fact that bringing a sibling in kind of helps with
totally
that, for sure.
The youngest is much better at sharing, I have to say, because he's only ever shared. The eldest, and I do feel sorry for them, the eldest have everything to themselves, and then all of a sudden we make sure they have to share everything, and that's really hard for them. So my eldest, he's getting so much better, but he did really struggle, and sometimes still does struggle with sharing. And if he wants something, he wants it right now, whereas the second's a lot more willing to wait for his turn.
It's so interesting, isn't it? How that nature nurture debate. I find it fascinating. Now, one of the other key themes that came in, Charlie, was staying active in the first trimester, because as we are both probably still feeling the hangover from the first trimester, is absolutely disgusting, isn't it? It's just gross. And I know some women beautifully breeze through it, but I'm absolutely not one of those. And I know that you were also riddled with sickness and fatigue with this little one. So tell me what you have found helped.
So I've had 3 very different first trimesters. So in the first one, I'd had a lot of treatment because I'd had recurrent miscarriage before, and I was on lots of medication that actually made me feel great. It sort of masked all the sickness and everything. So I was like, I don't know what people really, what are they complaining about? I feel great. But I was very nervous about doing too much and things, so I played it very carefully. Second time, I thought I had it bad. I had like 3 days of sickness. And third time, holy moly, it's been a whole different story. And I'm 18 and a half weeks, so same as you right now. I'm still getting nausea every day. I'm not being sick anymore, but I'm still getting nausea. But that first trimester, it was about getting through each day because I had the kids to look after. So I was like, how do I conserve my energy? So I was keeping active because I had to. I can't lie in bed all day because I have to look after them. So I was doing that, obviously. I was doing a lot of swimming. Swimming really, really like eradicated the nausea whilst I was in the pool. Then I'd get out and about 10 minutes later it would come back. But it was so heavenly. I think it was being in the cold water, or I don't know, but it felt really great. And it was very kind to my joints. I could just breathe along and not go too hard. But a lot of swimming. I did try and do some weight workouts, but I just never pushed it so that my heart rate was really high, because I found that made me feel worse. And sometimes I started a workout and 10 minutes later I thought, I can't, it's not working. I can't do it. So my first trimester was really hit and miss each week. It was like, I'm going to try, I'm going to go to the gym. And if all that happens is I do a warm up and then have a shower, then oh well, that's just what happens. So I took all the pressure off. I tried to be outside as much as I could because the fresh air helped, whether it was just like standing in a playground with the boys or whether I was going on a walk, it didn't matter, still really helped. But I did notice at the end of the trimester, my fitness and my strength had declined massively, which of course, but I'm already feeling like I'm building it back up again. And so I always want to say to women, of course it's going to go down a bit. You know, when you say, oh, I don't want all my hard work to be lost, it's not lost forever. It's just going to be put to the side for now. And you know how to build it back up. You can, as soon as you start again, you know, start that building again. So I feel like I'm getting there now, and I'm able to manage the nausea by eating, which is really great. I'm eating a lot, whereas in the first trimester, food just didn't even help. Nothing was helping apart from swimming. So now I just make sure that my stomach isn't empty and I'm generally okay. But I've learned when I've pushed it too hard on a day, I felt good. I paid for it the next day and I felt absolutely floored. So I'm sort of working at like a 60-70% maximum capacity because I need to save my energy for the rest of my day and my week. So my main advice for the first trimester is do what you need to do. If that is nothing, then that is nothing. If you can do a bit of exercise, then do it, but don't copy anyone else. Don't feel bad. Don't compare. Even to your last pregnancy, it's a horrible time. But you know what? Your body is making a human. Like you look at these updates on the app, and it's like your baby now has fingernails and lungs and liver. You're like, what? I was just yelling about my daily life, and this was happening. So it's no wonder that we feel completely shattered and awful.
I know. I think we totally underestimate that in the first trimester because you don't look pregnant. You can't see or feel a baby. And for a lot of women, you haven't even had a scan. So all you've got is that, you know, blue line or that pregnant on a little digital test. And actually in the first like 10 weeks of pregnancy, your baby's fully formed. All it then really does is get bigger. So in that first 10 weeks, your body is doing insane work. And no wonder that's exhausting because you're literally creating a human life and then it just grows, basically.
It's just,
for the rest of
how clever. I said to my husband last night, on earth, like, how does my body know how to do that? I look at my toddler now and I'm like, you were made inside my stomach. Like, I've worked like you with pregnant women for years and years and it never fails to impress me. I'm just like, how incredible. And you know, when in the first trimester, I was like to my husband, I wish you could do this. And actually I don't wish you could do it because I'm so glad that we get to experience this magic, really. And I know when you're feeling that sick, if someone said to you how magical is it, you want to punch them in the face. But it is. When you come through that, which you will, it is. It's just amazing.
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, I would give the first trimester away quite happily, but the rest of it, I'm totally here for. Because like you say, it's meeting your body day to day. And I think the difference that I've felt in this pregnancy compared to my first is that with my first, in the evening, when I started to feel really tired, I just sit down and watch TV.
And just go to bed early.
Great, bath time with a toddler, bedtime. Like, it just doesn't happen. So I think my sickness this time was actually less of it with my son. They wanted to hospitalize me because I just couldn't eat or drink anything. And I was so dehydrated. This time it actually wasn't as severe. And I found that I just had to eat awful, beige, salty, you know, calorie high, but nutrients low food constantly to manage it. So I wasn't becoming ketotic like I was with my first, but it's gone on for longer. So with Finley, it was like 12-week light bulb. Here I am, second trimester glow. But this one, vomiting is just part of the bedtime routine still. But I think it's because of that. The more tired you get, the more sick you are. And when you've already got a child and you can't do that resting thing that we tell everyone to do, it kind of somersaults because by the evening you're done, but you're actually not done because you've got to look after this other person still. So
I don't know if you find it. I find that when I've got them to bed, like when I literally close the door in their bedrooms, I then am like hit with a wave of sickness. I'm like, oh my God, it's like the adrenaline has gone. Like, right, you're done on the motherhood job for now. now how do you feel? And I've often just had to go straight to bed or just collapse on the sofa because I'm like, whoa, I am absolutely shattered. I feel awful. But you have to get on with motherhood whilst the kids are there. So you have no choice. So in a way, my brain was just sort of putting that to the back and being like, you're fine, you're fine. And then suddenly they're in bed and I'm like, I'm not fine. I'm not fine. But for me, that's another thing I love to tell women is like, eat the Marmite toast, eat the plain pasta, whatever it is, because the baby's taking every ounce of goodness you're getting, which is why you feel so awful. But we all make these lovely, plump, healthy babies, even though we've eaten basically no vegetables in the first trimester. So don't panic about that, you know? Get them in where you can. Have a smoothie if that's a good way of getting it in or whatever. But it's okay to eat beige. It really is.
Yeah. And I think if you speak to most pregnant women, beige is like a common theme, isn't it, in the first 12 weeks? And actually, it's reassuring, hopefully, people listening that are in the beige system at the moment. I mean, my son was literally grown on chicken nuggets and he came out. But actually, you don't have a placenta in the first 12 weeks. You have these hormones maintaining your pregnancy, which means what you eat isn't actually directly transferred to your baby.
Oh, yeah.
Trimester. You've got this yolk sac. Anyone that's had an early scan, you'll notice you've got a baby and then you've got this little balloon. It almost looks like they're holding a little balloon, and that's the yolk sac. And the nutrients in that is what was in your body prior to you conceiving. So that's actually what's feeding the baby to start with.
You know, I didn't even know that about the yolk sac. That's very interesting.
So the beige food is grand. Just crack on. Leave the broccoli until you're in your second trimester and eat the chicken nuggets and crisps.
And what have you been craving this pregnancy?
So my first trimester, I ate toast, salt and vinegar crisps. Salt and vinegar crisps was like a thing. Now that I'm through that hideous bit, it's olives, which was exactly the same with Finley. Just a love for olives.
No! Oh my gosh, you've lost me at olives.
Really weird. I've always liked them, but I wouldn't like order them on the food shop. It would be like if we're out, oh yeah, I'll have some olives.
That is so funny.
Olives all the time.
I think salt and vinegar crisps is quite common. For me, I had the same this time with salt and vinegar. And I think it's that you want that strong flavour.
Yeah.
So I've had a lot of Marmite, a lot of salt and vinegar, a lot of them sherbet sweets, like really powerful sour sweets. So I've been with my first, it was savoury foods. With my second, it was sweet foods, and both were boys. So the myth is gone.
That myth of sweet and girls is wrong. Yeah.
So, and then this time it's been a mixture. It's just been strong flavours. So like really citrusy fruit or very salty foods. So yeah, I find it fascinating what people crave, but olives is not on my list, I have to say.
I know, really, really bizarre. But I'm like, I'll take that because that's really healthy. So
yeah, definitely.
Olives are on everything at the moment. Oh, it's so funny though, isn't it? How you literally feel like this little alien has taken over your body, and all those things that seemed important before or would have been your normal day-to-day habits are just completely flipped, because it is to some extent out of your control. And that's where we need to grant ourselves, I think, a little bit of compassion and just be like, you know, every day isn't going to be great, but we can ride that wave and take each hour as it comes sometimes, you know, because sometimes one part of the day is completely different to the other part of the day.
Yeah, and sometimes you learn the patterns. So in the first trimester for me, I'd be fine first thing in the morning, but it would come about 11. So I'd know that to take the boys to an activity first thing and then be at home and put the TV on. I honestly would like make them something for lunch, like sandwiches, something so easy, put the TV on and then just sit on the sofa with them, because I knew that time was not good for me. So I think taking the guilt away. People are always asking me, oh God, but I'm doing much more screen time. Do you feel guilty? I'm like, not one bit. I did a lot of lying down parenting the first 12 weeks. I was like, let's pretend that you're the doctor and I'm ill and you've got to look after me. And
I love that. That's a maternity play.
Try to balance all your cars on my legs while I'm lying on the sofa. Stuff like that. It went down a treat, but I just think you've got to get on with it. And then when I finally told them there's a baby in there, he kind of got it and he was like, oh, are you still poorly? I'm like, yes, I'm still poorly, but he gets kind of why. But yeah, it's really hard. And I think nobody tells you how luxurious the first pregnancy is, because you can't appreciate it till you have the second. Especially my first pregnancy was in lockdown. Was yours?
Yes, but we were slightly coming out of it.
Okay, I was in the full lockdown, so not
Yeah.
only did I not have any other children to look after, I didn't have anything else
Anything
to
to do.
do, or anywhere to be. I could literally sleep all day if I wanted, and I did not realize how lucky
How
I was.
lucky you were. Oh, it's so funny. I love hearing people's stories, because I just think what we see and then what we hear when we talk to people are often really different. And I know both of our accounts are quite honest in, you know, the highs and lows and the chaos and everything. But I think often when you see pregnancy or motherhood, it all looks so picture perfect, especially this time of year, like when you've got all these beautiful family photographs and all this like beautiful Christmas crafting. And then when you actually speak to mums and you get the real story, you recognize we are all navigating the same crazy chaos, and there's not a lot of perfection in any of it.
Exactly. And that little Christmas painting picture you saw lasted for 3 seconds, because after that the paint went on the floor and whatever. And I've been really trying to share that this Christmas, because I was being floored by some of the days that I thought were going to be magical and festive, and they've been so stressful. I'm like, there must be more parents having this crazy toddler overwhelm in December. And it turns out there is. Everybody's going through it. But of course, we like to share the happy things, which is also great. But most of the time when your kids are having meltdowns, you're not taking pictures of them, are you? So that's not really the thing that you're going to put online. And yeah, I just think it's worth remembering with pregnancy and motherhood that nobody is sailing through it. Literally nobody. Even someone who doesn't have any sickness might be riddled with anxiety, or maybe
wishing that they had sickness. That's the thing, isn't it? You're like, why am I not sick? Everyone tells me I'm going to feel sick. What's wrong?
Exactly. There's always something. Like right now, you've been feeling kicks, haven't you? I haven't felt any kicks yet. And I remember at the end of my pregnancy last time, my God, he was kicking so much. I was like, just stop it. This is so uncomfortable. And now I'm desperate for that. So it's like, there's always something.
There is always something. And we can't be perfect, because the world's not perfect. And our children don't need us to be, because we need to set them up for real life. And that means navigating an imperfect world. So I'm all for embracing our imperfect parenting and apologizing and making mistakes. And that's real life.
My boys now say, silly you. Because I admit when I've done something wrong and I've made a mistake, and we make it into a funny thing, like, oh no, mummy's given you the wrong food again, you didn't like it. Silly you,
as it goes on the floor.
Exactly. And I just think, because then they'll say it when they've done something wrong, and Alfie goes, oh no, I've made a mistake. And I mean, in the moment it's really hard to be rational about it, isn't it? You think, I'm just going to embrace making mistakes, and in the moment you think, I'm such a terrible mom. But when you really can calm down and think about it, you're like, I'm literally doing the best I can. Being pregnant is hard, being a parent is hard. So when you put it together, it's just like, oh my God, it's like a marathon. So you have to just give yourself a bit of pat on the back every so often.
We are actually amazing. It makes me laugh. Finley did something the other day, and as I picked him up, I went, oh mate, like, come on, give me a break. Then he looked at me and went, oh mate. And I was like, oh no, we're at that stage where I need to filter everything before it comes out. Like that.
Yeah.
But it's so much fun. Charlie, I could speak to you all day, but can you leave us with 3 top tips for pregnant or new mummies listening?
Okay, well, I think I probably have drip fed them through this episode, but I would say the first thing is to give yourself a break, a physical break, but mainly a mental break. So, and I need to give myself this advice every single day. When you go to bed, just think about all the things that you did do, not the things that went wrong or you were supposed to do. And just remember that when your kids are drawing pictures of you at nursery, they're not drawing you as a terrible mum. They're drawing you with a love heart around, or that, you know what I mean? That my mummy does this and my mummy does that. They think you're doing an amazing job. So we need to just be a little less harsh to ourselves. Same as pregnancy. You're literally doing the best that you can, nothing else. The second tip would be to ask for help. I'm not very good at it. I'm getting better because I have to be. The more kids you have, the more help you literally have to ask for. But let people help you because they want to. They always ask, let me know. I think it's hard when people say, let me know if I can help, when they leave it quite open-ended. But if someone says, I'm coming round for me to look after your baby while you have a shower or a nap, just just take it, because you will be really regretful if you don't. And then you do what I do, and then I have a big moan that nobody's helping me, and it's like, hello, everybody is asking to help you. So that would be my second, ask for the help. And my third would be to plan less into your day. So especially if this is your first pregnancy and you're listening, I think we're so used to being able to do so much on our day because our day is longer. We don't need to stop the day at 4:30 to cook dinner for the kids and then do bedtime routine. The day feels much, much longer. So I always say plan one thing into the day, one activity, and the rest is just a bonus. So often with my kids in the morning, if I've got them with me, they're not at nursery, I'll take them to like a music class or the library or the playground. And then in the afternoon, it's like, what should we do? What do you fancy doing? And it could be playing in the garden or playing a game at home, or it could be going back to the playground. But just have one thing in your diary every day. It gets you out the house. So especially if you've just had your first baby, even if it's going to the post office or going to buy some milk, one thing in your diary, and then everything else is a bonus, rather than trying to like get on a bus to go into central London and go to 5 different shops. You are not going to succeed every day, and you're going to feel really disheartened about it. So plan less and succeed more, I'd say.
Oh, I love that. Plan less and succeed more. That is a beautiful way to finish. Charlie, thank you so much. And I look forward to following the rest of your journey with baby number 3.
You too, with baby number 2. I'm so happy that we're in sync. It's so nice. It's so nice to follow along.
Before I head off, I need to tell you something. 68% of you who listen to my show have not hit the subscribe button. So can you do me a favor? And if you've ever enjoyed listening, hit subscribe now. It makes a huge difference, helping me to keep bringing you episodes. And together, we can then reach and empower more women on this journey. If you are a pregnant or newly postpartum listener and are looking to have the healthiest, most positive and informed journey, then my exclusive Your Pregnancy and Your Postnatal Journey courses may be for you. I work with a select number of women in a bespoke way, with unlimited access to me and my expert team for the most transformative level of support at this important time in your life. We only get one shot at getting this time right. So to get in touch and find out more, head to midwifepip.com.